Let's get one thing straight. Looking attractive isn't about pleasing anyone else. It's about stepping into a room and owning every inch of your power. It's about a kind of presence that makes people stop, not because of what you're wearing, but because of who you are. But because of who you are. If you're tired of chasing beauty standards set by people who don't even know your name, this is for you. This isn't a tutorial. This is a transformation. We've been fed a story from the moment we could walk. That confidence is for the chosen few. That it's something women are either born with or they're not. That some just have it, while the rest of us are left to chase it in mirrors, magazines, and manufactured perfection. But that story is a lie. Confidence isn't a genetic trait. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, it's built through repetition, resistance, and resilience. It's not about walking around with a flawless smile or never feeling doubt. It's about what you choose to believe about yourself in spite of the doubt. Confidence begins in the quietest moments. It's in the decisions no one sees. When you choose not to apologize for taking up space. When you decide to speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. It shows up when you stop waiting for someone else to validate you and start validating you and start validating yourself. Because confidence isn't about what other people think of you. It's about what you know about you. And that knowing, that's where the real power lives. The problem is, most women have been trained to downplay their brilliance. We're told not to be too loud, too assertive, too ambitious. As if our confidence the room instead of elevating it. So we shrink, we defer, we doubt, not because we're weak, but because we've been conditioned to believe that humility means invisibility. But let me say this as clearly as I can. Shrinking does not serve the world. Shrinking makes you forget who you are, and there is nothing attractive about dimming your own light to make others more comfortable. True confidence isn't loud. It's not boastful. It's not ego-driven. It's a grounded, quiet power that comes from knowing your worth and refusing to bargain with it. It's the kind of energy that walks into a room without needing to prove anything because it carries the certainty that it already belongs. And people feel that. They respond to it. Because when a woman stands in her truth, fully and without apology, the world adjusts around her. Not the other way around. But don't get it twisted. Building confidence isn't linear. Some days it looks like fire and boldness. Other days it's getting out of bed when everything in you wants to hide. Confidence is built in the practice of courage, not the performance of perfection. It's built every time you stand back up after falling. Every time you say yes and to your voice and a no to your fear. Every time you trust yourself enough to take the next step, even when you don't have the whole path figured out. That's where the magic happens. That's where attraction deepens. Not in how you look, but in the force you are when you decide to keep showing up. So no, confidence won't come from another beauty product, another compliment, or another 5-step routine promising to change your life. It comes from within, from the decision, again and again, to show up for yourself. To believe, even on the hardest days, that you are still worthy, still powerful, still enough. When that belief takes root, it radiates. It draws people in, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. but because you're real. And there's nothing more attractive. We live in a world that often celebrates image over substance, reaction over reflection. But a woman who is in tune with herself, who knows why she feels what she feels and can articulate that with clarity, that woman carries something rare, something grounding, something magnetic. Emotional intelligence means you stop reacting from pain and start responding from presence. You begin to see patterns in your emotional world and take responsibility for your role in them. It's the ability to sit with discomfort without needing to escape it or numb. It's the ability to use comfort eat. It's knowing that just because you're triggered doesn't mean someone else is wrong. It means something inside of you is asking to be seen. That level of self-awareness is powerful. Because when you stop outsourcing your emotional state to other people's actions, you take your power back. That's gone. And power, when held with grace, becomes irresistibly attractive. A woman who is emotionally intelligent doesn't just know herself, she respects herself. She sets boundaries not to push people away, but to protect her peace. She knows when to say no, not out of fear, but from a place of self-respect. That kind of clarity creates safety in a relationship, into a room, in a conversation. People may not always understand her, but they trust her because her presence is consistent. Her words align with her actions. And that kind of alignment, it's rare, it's beautiful, it's unforgettable. It's unforgettable. What makes emotional intelligence so captivating is how it shifts the energy around you. When you've done your inner work, when you've sat with your fears, confronted your insecurities, and chosen healing over hiding, you radiate a calmness that others want to be near. Radiate a calmness that others want to be near. You don't need to control the room because you've already mastered yourself. You're not chasing validation because you've already claimed your value. And that inner peace, that's what people feel when you walk in. That's what makes them lean in. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because your presence tells them they're safe to be real too. Emotional intelligence isn't about being perfect or always composed or always composed. It's about owning your humanity and leading with it. It's allowing yourself to feel deeply without being ruled by those feelings. It's choosing honesty over performance, vulnerability over pride, growth over ego. That kind of emotional maturity doesn't just make you attractive, it makes you unforgettable. Because in a world full of masks and manipulation, your authenticity becomes a breath of fresh air. And here's the real secret. Emotional intelligence doesn't just change how others see you. Change how others see you. It changes how you see yourself. When you understand your emotional world, you stop seeing your feelings as flaws. You begin to trust yourself in deeper ways. You stop fearing intimacy because you've already learned to be intimate with your own truth. And that kind of self-relationship is the foundation for every other relationship in your life. When you love yourself enough to heal, you become not only more attractive, but more alive. And aliveness, that's what we're all drawn to. There is nothing more magnetic than a woman who is fully, unapologetically herself. Authenticity isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest. It's about showing up as who you really are when it would be easier to perform. Woods again. When a woman is in alignment with her values, her voice, and her identity, she carries a presence that can't be copied or imitated. The world is saturated with images, illusions, and projections of what a woman should be. But authenticity cuts through cuts through all of that. It's not about fitting into a mold, it's about breaking it. And that, more than any curated look or practice pose, is what draws people in. We're taught early on to shapeshift, to adjust who we are to make others feel more comfortable, to be likable, agreeable, easy to digest. But that kind of constant self-editing is exhausting. Over time, it chips away at your self-worth. You start to wonder if people love you or just the version of you they've been shown. That's why authenticity matters, because when you show up as the real you, without performing or pretending, you give people the chance to connect with something real. These things to connect with something real. And real is rare. Real is refreshing. Real is what lasts long after looks fade or trends shift. Authenticity doesn't mean exposing every part of yourself to everyone. It means being rooted in who you are, even when no one else agrees. It means your worth doesn't rise and fall with someone else's approval. It's in how you talk, how you carry yourself, how you choose to live in alignment with what matters most to you. A woman who's authentic doesn't need to scream to be heard. Her quiet confidence speaks for her. She doesn't chase acceptance. She creates it by embracing herself first. And that kind of self-possession is powerful. It draws the right people towards you and repels what was never meant for you in the first place. And there's a deep, undeniable glow that comes from someone who has stopped trying to prove anything. When you've let go of the need to be someone else, you move differently. You breathe deeper. You laugh louder. You cry, laugh louder. You cry without shame. You start living from your center instead of chasing someone else's idea of success, beauty, or worth. And ironically, that's when people start noticing you more. Because authenticity isn't about standing out. It's about standing in your truth. And when you do, the world can't help but notice. Though, notice, what people are truly drawn to isn't perfection, it's permission. When someone sees you being boldly yourself, they feel invited to do the same. Your authenticity becomes a mirror. A reminder that it's safe to drop the mask. That it's okay to be human. That it's okay to be human. That's the real magic of living authentically. It doesn't just transform your life. It gives other people the courage to transform theirs. You don't have to be the loudest or the flashiest. You just have to be real. That's what people remember. That's what people respect. And let's be honest, be yours that's constantly telling you to be something else. That takes courage. Real courage. It means risking rejection. It means risking rejection. It means saying no when it's easier to say yes. It means staying true when everything around you is pushing you to conform. But when you choose authenticity, you reclaim your power. You stop living for the applause and start living for your truth. That's the kind of attractiveness that can't be taught, bought, or borrowed. It can only be lived. And when is, it's undeniable. Attractiveness isn't always what you think it is. It's not in the makeup aisle. It's not in the latest fashion trend or the shape of your body. It's in your energy, the way you carry yourself, the way you move through the world when you know you belong in it. for UVO in it. Presence, real, grounded, unapologetic presence, is the fourth and maybe the most misunderstood key to looking more attractive. It's what happens when your inner world and your outer expression are in sync. It's the quiet, commanding force of someone who is fully there. Not distracted, not performing, not hiding, just there. Presence isn't something you can fake. It's not about being loud or taking up physical space for attention. It's about being rooted. A woman with presence listens differently, speaks with intention, responds instead of reacting. She's not easily thrown off by the noise around her because she's tuned into something deeper within herself. That calm, that steadiness, it's felt. And when you carry that kind of energy into a room, people notice you before you even say a word. They might not be able to explain why, but they feel pulled in. That's presence. That's power. But here's the truth. Presence comes from practice. You don't just wake up one day and suddenly feel powerful in your skin. You cultivate it. You make space to check in with yourself before you check your notifications. You start paying attention to your thoughts, your posture, your breath, your patterns. You begin to notice where you disappear and why. You bring yourself back over and over until being with yourself becomes your new default. And when you're connected to yourself, people feel more connected to you. Not because you're trying to be attractive, but because you're anchored. So much of our energy gets lost trying to be everything for everyone, trying to say the right thing, do the right thing, look the right way. And in that constant shape-shifting, we lose presence. We abandon ourselves. Ourselves. But when you reclaim your attention, when you stop outsourcing your worth and start tuning into your own voice, you begin to radiate a different kind of beauty, a kind that isn't about polish or perfection, but about aliveness. You stop chasing moments and start living in them. And that kind of woman, she doesn't just enter a space, she shifts it. Presence also demands boundaries. You can't be fully present if you're constantly overextended, overcommitted, and overwhelmed. A woman who honors her time, her peace, and her energy is deeply attractive, not because she's unavailable, but because she's intentional. She shows up where she means to. She says yes because she wants to, not because she's afraid to say no. That kind clarity radiates. So that kind of clarity radiates. It tells the world, I know who I am, and I respect myself too much to abandon that for anyone. That energy doesn't beg for attention. It commands it. And maybe the most beautiful part of presence is how it invites others to be present too. When you are deeply embodied, when you speak with conviction, listen with care, and walk with purpose, you become a mirror for everyone around you. You remind people what it looks like to be here, fully, honestly, authentically. That's what makes you stand out. Not the way you look from across the room, but the way people feel in your presence. That feeling, the one that lingers long after the conversation ends, that's what makes you unforgettable. That's the kind of attraction that doesn't fade and befalls fade. There's something undeniably attractive about a woman who knows how to carry herself with intention, not in a forced, performative way, but in a way that reflects self-respect. This is the fifth key. How you treat yourself teaches others how to treat you. Others how to treat you. And that starts with self-care. Not the kind marketed to you in spas and skincare, but the deep kind, the kind of care that comes from valuing your time, your voice, your body, your peace. The kind of care that says, I am worthy of attention, not because I've earned it, but because I exist. That energy creates a ripple effect, and people can feel it. We live in a world that constantly tells women to hustle, prove, perform, and please. So we put ourselves last, thinking that's noble. We think self-sacrifice is attractive, that being agreeable makes us more likable, and that saying yes, when we mean a no, keeps the peace. But here's the truth. People are not drawn to those who abandon themselves. They are drawn to those who respect themselves. They are drawn to those who respect themselves. A woman who makes her needs a priority doesn't push people away. She teaches them what it looks like to honor their own. It's in how you speak to yourself in the mirror. When you treat yourself like someone who matters, others notice. You walk differently. You speak with more clarity. You don't shrink in the presence of someone else's opinion. Why? Because you've already chosen your own. That's not arrogance. It's self-honoring. And that's what creates lasting attraction. People are drawn to those who clearly value themselves because it gives them permission to do the same. There's also power in the small, consistent things. Things as also power in this again. The way you set boundaries with your time. The way you say, I'm not available for that, and mean it. The way you leave spaces that don't nourish you without guilt. That's not cold. That's confident. That's confident. And confidence grounded in self-respect is one of the most beautiful, powerful things a woman can embody because it tells the world, I am not desperate for your approval. I am not available for your projections. God, know who I am, and I'm not afraid to protect her. That energy is unforgettable. Many people confuse being nice with being good, but niceness, when it's rooted in fear, isn't kindness, it's self-abandonment. True kindness starts within. A woman who treats herself with compassion is more capable of offering it to others. And people sense that. They can tell when your kindness is coming from overflow, not obligation. When you care for yourself deeply, your love isn't transactional, it's expansive. And that expansiveness is what people feel when they're around you. It's what makes them feel safe, seen, and drawn to your presence. Fun. And let's be honest, there is something incredibly alluring about someone who is at peace with themselves, someone who doesn't need to perform to be loved, someone who's not trying to manipulate attention, but is simply living in alignment. That peace comes from inner integrity, from treating yourself like someone you love. And when that becomes your foundation, your presence becomes a magnet, not because you're seeking attention, but because you've stopped seeking it all. You've already found what matters, you. And that quiet certainty. That's the kind of attraction that can't be taught. It can only be lived. The sixth key to looking more attractive is often overlooked, yet it's one of the most powerful forces a woman can embody: passion. Not the loud, dramatic kind, not the performative, oh look, how busy I am kind, but the deep, soul-driven fire that fuels your curiosity, your purpose, your reason for waking up in the morning. There is something incredibly captivating about a woman who is lit up from within, who has something that excites her, drives her, moves her. Passion is magnetic. It signals life. Passion is magnetic. It signals life. It tells the world, I am connected to something bigger than approval, bigger than applause. I am living in pursuit of what sets my soul on fire. Passion breathes life into your energy. It changes the way you talk, the way you move, the way you connect. The way you connect. When you speak about something you love, you come alive. Your eyes light up. Your voice carries a different weight, and suddenly, the people around you lean in, not because you ask them to, but because they can't look away. A woman with passion doesn't need to prove herself. Her energy does the speaking. You can feel her purpose even in silence. That presence isn't about how she looks. It's about how present she is in what she's doing. Passion creates a gravitational pull. But here's the thing. Passion doesn't always have to be some grand career or a fully mapped out mission. It can be found in the smallest moments, the way you love to cook, create, build, move, serve, or explore. What matters isn't the size of it. It's the authenticity of it. It's the authenticity of it. Passion is what happens when you give yourself permission to follow what excites you without needing to justify it. Too many women silence their desires in the name of practicality or people-pleasing. But a woman who follows her passion, even in whispers, carries an energy that cannot be ignored. Then there's something deeply grounding about being around someone who's connected to their own joy. Passion doesn't just inspire, it heals. It reminds others of what they've forgotten in themselves. A woman who is excited about her life becomes a source of light in a world that often feels numb. Source of light in a world that often feels numb. She doesn't look for someone to complete her because her life is already full of meaning. And when she invites someone in, it's not to fill a void. It's to share the richness of what she's already created. That energy doesn't chase. It attracts. It draws people toward her, not because she's trying to be something, but because she's already being it. Passion also builds resilience. When you're anchored in something that matters to you, you can weather criticism, setbacks, and seasons of doubt without losing yourself. Passion keeps you rooted, gives you something to return to. When the world feels shaky. And that kind of emotional solidity is wildly attractive, not because it's flashy, but because it's real. People can feel when you're living from a place of alignment. They trust it. They want to be near it. Not to steal it, but to witness it, to understand it, to maybe even find their own version of it. And the most beautiful part? Passion is contagious. It reminds people what it feels like to be alive. A woman who owns her joy, her curiosity, her unique voice in the world becomes unforgettable, not because she's trying to be, but because she's fully here. She's not performing. She's not chasing perfection. She's simply doing what lights her up. And that inner fire, that relentless spark, it creates a beauty that no makeup, no trend, no algorithm can manufacture. It's not something you wear, it's something you become. So if you've ever wondered how to look more attractive, start here. And not with the mirror, not with the approval of others, but with you. The way you feel about yourself, the way you speak to yourself, the way you carry yourself when no one's watching, that's where it begins. Real beauty, lasting beauty, magnetic beauty. It's an inside job. It's emotional intelligence. It's authenticity. It's presence. It's self-respect. It's passion, not surface, not performance, not perfection. When you choose to own your story, honor your worth, and live from a place of truth, something shifts. You stop asking, am I enough? And start declaring, am. And start declaring, I am. And that, more than anything else, is what makes a woman unforgettable.